And welcome back once again to Brian Keene's Secret Histories. I am, of course, your host, Brian Keene. And what we do in this very informal and very bootleg series of videos is we sit on the floor in my office and we go through my archives, book by book in chronological order, and we talk about those books. Today, we're talking about, as you might have guessed, the resurrection and the life. Now, this is a popular short story. It features Ob from the Rising series and, of course, the Labyrinth series, fighting Jesus of Nazareth. It's written like the Gospels. It was very much an experiment for me at the time. But this actual edition is quite rare. Most of you who have read this short story have probably read it in short story collections. I've collected it several times, but this is its publication in book form. What we're going to start with first is a little promo postcard that the publisher at the time did, The Resurrection and the Life by Brian Keene, with original woodblocks by George Walker, created in the style of a medieval manuscript. Read Keene's shocking twist from the Book of John. Yada, yada, yada. Here's the back of it. Biting Dog Press. As you can see, it was limited to 250 signed and numbered copies. Those sold at $100, and 52 lettered editions, which sold at $250 each. We're going to come back to those numbers and those figures in a moment. But it's important to point out that this sold out within like a week at those numbers. Suffice to say, I was at the height of my popularity. When I put out a limited edition these days, they don't sell out that fast. But back then they did. Anyway, this is the signed numbered edition. Black leather. Book comes out. The signature sheets, as I remember it, were in the back. Each of them held these little papyrus with illustrations. And yes, there were the signature sheets, signed by myself and George and Ob. And the book itself, yes, very much meant to look like a medieval manuscript. It was a fun story. It was challenging to write in the style of the Bible, and I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed getting to do something with Ob that didn't involve the Rising. And as I said, the book sold very, very well. This was the lettered edition, 52 copies. Now, in addition to the book, it gave George a chance to shine. There was an insert for his new book on woodcutting. There was a chapbook included, spotlighting some of his work. Again, all those sheets that you saw on the other one. Let's take a look at each of those here. And this is like cloth paper, really, really finely done stuff. These aren't just Xeroxes. I know it doesn't come across in the video, but and these are all illustrations from the story itself. And then we get to the book. As you can see, this one is red leather. I wonder if I can get it out. That's what she said. Here it is. Nice, gorgeous red leather, actually. As you can see, though, it's much the same book, except for the signature sheet. Now, that was supposed to be it. As you saw on that promo card I showed you, 250 signed limited editions, 52 copies of this lettered edition. Sold out very quickly. Suddenly, An Ultra edition was announced, even though an Ultra edition had not been contracted. I didn't know about it till my fans started asking me about it. And the Ultra edition is ultimately cool. You know, there's the book. Again, the inserts, etc. All of that is still there. But you also, with the Ultra edition, got an actual wood block, engraved wood block by George from the book. The problem with this is, as I said, there was no Ultra edition originally announced. And I had to speak up and say, hey, I'm getting paid extra for that, right? It was my first taste of I am making people money. I'm making people a lot of money. And if I don't watch, I'm going to be taken advantage of. And I'm not saying the publisher did that intentionally, okay? I don't think in the case of this particular publisher, I don't think what he did was malicious. I don't think he had malicious intent. I think he thought, holy shit, we sold a lot of those books really fast. Should do another one. There were, however, publishers who did act maliciously, and we'll get into them later. We've got into some of them already when we talked about some of the previous books, like Talking Smack and No Rest for the Wicked. But this was my wake-up call, so to speak, that, Brian, you're a gold mine for these people. Don't let them take advantage of you. If you've read my short story, Golden Boy, it's where it all stems from. Yeah, it was a wake-up call. And that is an unpleasant situation to be in, because when you have that awakening, when you reach that point, anyone that approaches you from then on out, any new person who tries to enter your social circle, you are going to look at them distrustfully. Your immediate go-to is going to be distrust. What do they want from you? You know, what do they hope to gain? And that sucks, and it's unfortunate, and I hate being that way. I'm even more like that now, 30 years into this. I have been fucked over and betrayed by some of the best at fucking over and betraying people. Not by the best in our genre. The best in our genre, by and large, are wonderful, good people. I'm talking about the sharks and the bottom feeders. Most of you will probably go through your entire lives and never even hear of those folks. But I know who they are. And when you are a fan of this genre, as I was, and a fan of all of this, and this is what you wanted, and this is what you worked for, it breaks your heart when you get to that point, when you realize, oh, I gotta watch myself. I gotta guard myself. I gotta guard my rights, and I gotta guard my legacy, and I've got to guard the people I love from these other people who say they love us. Once that's turned on, you can't turn it off. Or if you can turn it off, I don't know how. Ain't nobody told me how. But it started around this year, 2006, which is when this came out. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about this particular publisher. He was wonderful to work with. But it was my first indicator that I was making people a lot of money. And it was my first indication of, what am I actually being paid for The Rising and City of the Dead and Earthworm Gods and these other books? Um, what am I being paid versus how much are they making? Um, and all of this, of course, would continue to echo and snowball, and we'll get to that over the course of time in these videos. But this is where it begins. This is where it starts. Um, 2006 wasn't my most popular year, uh, but it was the start of, you know, everybody, whether they liked my work or not, whether they liked me or not, everybody having to acknowledge, okay, yeah, this guy's a force. His readers are a force, and he's making a lot of people a lot of money. And of course, when you're making a lot of people a lot of money, then other people want you to make them money too. So, anyway, I didn't know that we would get into all this when I decided to record this video next. But we are going in chronological order, uh, which means we're going to stay religious with our next one, and we're going to take the long way home. So I will see you next time. I appreciate you watching these and look forward to reading your comments. Peace.